see a quote here from Mr. Martin Fox that I put up briefly, and he makes a pertinent comment here, and I just want to bring this up for a quick sort of throw around the table. Ironic, don't you think? So many people here dreaming of heaven and the spirits, and on the subtle level determined to reincarnate in order to learn and evolve. So while we're here, we're thinking about being up there, but when we're up there, we're thinking about, you know, how we sort of like take value in that from here because it's there. And I find that's interesting because, you know, there's a large online community talking about what's going on up here, but there's so much, like, we need to clean up our own backyard first, essentially. And I remember somebody mentioning this conversation of, we're learning these higher skills, so essentially we can leverage them to improve the sand pit so that everyone can have a richer learning experience here. And, you know, it's duality, and so there's pleasant things and less pleasant things and that. But would anyone from the panel like to comment on this this mention from Martin?
Well, I think Clint perhaps addressed somewhat when he said that, you know, this is a purgatory location. So, and as well, actually, yeah, as Victoria said, you know, we're here so that we can do more. And yes, you do remember at some level, sometimes completely remember, but sometimes just somehow at the back of your psyche, you remember how much nicer it was before you turned up, and that might perhaps be one of the drivers for regarding these subtle levels when we're here. And if Martin is suggesting that we should perhaps address the here and now more, I would agree, because that's why we're here. You know, we have to do something. We're here for a reason, type thing. But that is, it's important not to get too spacious about that kind of stuff. What I would suggest is that it's a question of alignment. So to use the analogy of the solstices, when the sun, the invisible sun, and the earth are all in a straight line alignment, perhaps we are looking to align ourselves in the physical and the subtle realms rather than express a preference. Perhaps it might be that we bring them through in a clearer, harmonious way, and have them in alignment, and that might be perhaps a possible solution to the conundrum.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, no, I do think it's ironic, like the grass is always greener. But yeah, no, I kind of chalk it up to just kind of seeing good things in the afterlife and the world to come, and just kind of letting it go at that, you know, and, you know, focusing on being here now, you know, on the earth plane. And, you know, a lot of people do get curious about these other dimensions and other worlds. And, you know, I suppose there is a certain comfort having a strong faith that you're going to be in a good place when you pass on and cross over. But at the same time, yeah, I totally agree with what you said, Phil, about cleaning up our own backyards. There's just plenty to clean up in the backyard, you know. So there's plenty going on here. There's no reason to necessarily wish we were already there, you know. So, but it is ironic, you know, thinking about being in the other place. I mean, and I think it's a common thing to do with anything, really. You know, the phrase, the idiom is the grass is always greener. You always think like, you know, I went to a monastery, you know, I could have become a monk. And, you know, sometimes I would think, oh, well, I'm not a monk. What if I had been a monk? Or sometimes I would think like, you know, I made this decision. What if I had made this decision? You know, it's just like, you know, there's always that kind of oscillation between two poles. But, you know, I do think it helps to just kind of be here now.
Thank you. Yeah, and I have to say, look, you know, I could go to a monastery too, but I kind of feel like I'm copping out a little bit in the sense that I have I'm a teacher. I'm bound to being a teacher, and I can do so much. I've already done lots of community service work, and I'm like going, I can do so much while I'm here. And so part of what I'm doing, for example, is these podcasts and things like that until I sort of find another place, and also finding a way to use higher skills in a sense that can serve people in physical proximity and also to the global family as well. You had any comments you wanted to share on this one, Victoria?
Oh, how many onion layers do I want to go down on this? I mean, as I mentioned, previously, waking up and realizing you have a connection to a higher sphere that's much more pleasant and full of unconditional love and your soul family and all that. And then being separate from that, it's a very tangible feeling. But I've struggled a lot with that, and also like depression and even being suicidal throughout my life. Not suicidal now or depressed, but I've had a lot of dark moments of my life. But thankfully, through grace, I've been able to go into states that show me, oh, when you die and you're outside of time, you look back on your life and it's just a dream. So it really helped me shift my perspective that while I'm here, and then this is kind of cheesy, but it's like the role playing game. I don't like that allegory as much, but it's like I am in a dream. I am in a waking dream. I am in a body that is going to be subject to its organic, age and death at some point. My spirit is plugged in here. This physical realm, this time, these experience, whether it's preordained or experiences I make for myself. And to recognize that all of this is serving a higher purpose, whether it's for your own higher self, for providence, for the people around your life, for the karma you're working through. So it's really helpful to give yourself some bearings, as there's so many memes online of people saying like they read their soul contract and they say F this, or this is going to be my last life. It's kind of become a funny, catchy thing of people like being like, no, I don't want to do this. Why am I here? Or the memes about like you're God's toughest soldier, so you're sent down here to earth. But also, I mean, on that point, we are kind of soldiers in a way. We're down here to sharpen our swords, as Jesus said. I didn't come to bring peace, but a sword. And to really just cultivate yourself. This is your incarnation, is your alchemical furnace, where you can transmute your base metals and just work on things. And even, and not only for like the outcome, but also acknowledge that this is going to have a positive outcome. You're an eternal being, and things you do now are going to position yourself better post incarnation so you can continue doing whatever work you're doing. So it's also, there's immediate gratification, but also look at the delayed gratification, and not from a selfish perspective, but also like I am part of the human conscious evolution. And as Bardon says, every person can reach perfection. So if you are attuned to this kind of inner work in this lifetime, like focus on how am I progressing in this? What do I need to do? But also find balance, not be too hard on yourself. Decide how much you can bite off and chew in this life, what you want to bite off and chew in this life, but also recognize that you don't have to compare and be like, oh, these people are mages who can create fire in the middle of nowhere, and I can't do that. Your path is your path. You will get to your destination when you get to your destination. Doesn't matter if it's this life or another life. Just stay on track, follow your inner conscience, your inner guidance, and do the work.
Wonderful. Philip.
There's just one phrase that sprang to mind, and possibly from what Victoria was saying. Is from Liberal Vel Legis, I am divided for love's sake, for the chance of union, which I think perhaps, without saying any more, perhaps helps move that along. Thank you, by the way, Victoria.
No, I love that. Makes me think of, like the Sufi union with the beloved, or in Christian mystic Christianity, the becoming the bride of the bridegroom, that union also with the lower and higher self. I think that's alchemical process too, is it?
Can be.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, man. I just want to say thank you to the audience too. If you've got any questions, please drop them into the chat. And I haven't seen anything on the Discord yet, but as you can see, we're having a wonderful conversation here. So please join us. Bring your questions forward. And I wanted to say too, just on the quote there, comment from Martin, is that I think that from what I've seen exploring the because there's a large community that falls obviously far outside of just say specific Bardon, there's many different communities. If we just look at the spiritual community at large, there is a desire for I think a kind of escapism and maybe, like, as I think Bob mentioned it once, astral tourism, where check this out, and it's like you have an initial encounter with these things and it changes you. There is an ongoing, I think, nutritional aspect to it, but it's also like going, what's that term? I think it's spiritual bypassing or something like this, where you're kind of like, your head's in the clouds, but your feet's not on the ground, sort of thing. And sorry?
Fairy charmed.
Right, perfect. Okay, that's it. And so, I think what I really love about, say, the Hermetic, the Initiation Hermetics books is it's like, here's the exercises, do them. They're designed to essentially, you can watch your life improve as you move through them. And as I've just found that there's a natural want for me to be better and to improve myself as I move through them, because I discover these new capacities, and I can find I can be of greater service in that. And the experiences that I have that are not so much physical, I find them very encouraging. But I've moved on from this kind of kid in a candy store, toy shop exploration, initial sort of like, wow, this is amazing. It's like, okay, I've kind of like found an area of focus, and I see how these teachings and practices and experience help feed into that, rather than just be kind of like a wandering mystic, just having incredible stories to share, which is great. But I found a real applicable functionality of these things. And but yeah, thank you, Martin. That's a very valuable statement there.